Do you dream of adding your very own book to the collection of books that have already been written? Do you wonder where to start or how to finish? Does the idea of writing a book seem too overwhelming? Do you just want to polish up those writing skills or stay motivated? Do you wonder what to write about? Everything you need to help you write, stay motivated, and self-publish your own book is right here on one channel. And why? Well, because it's time to get over the writer's hump and just do it. You can write anything. Yep, you can write a book. Hello and welcome to a book. I am so excited. Today I have this brilliant author for you to hear from. Her name is Julie Pennington. Julie, thank you so much for being on a book and welcome. I'm so glad that you're here.
Well, thank you. I appreciate, that you invited me on.
Oh, so if you don't mind, I would like to spend just a minute kind of telling our audience a little bit about what I know about you and how you and I had the opportunity to meet. So I think, if I remember correctly, while you were writing your novel that you just recently launched, I think you had sort of reached out to me and had some questions about editing, right? Am I right?
Right,
And
correct.
and I was able to lead you to a mutual friend of ours by the name of Ray Bear, who does book editing, and I think she may have edited your book too. Am I right about that?
She did,
Yeah.
yes.
So through that, that's how you and I got connected, and it was a little bit of a journey for you to publish your first book, and we're going to talk a little bit about that journey. But first, I want you to give everybody an opportunity to know what your book is, what it's called, and what it's about.
Well, the book's titled Traffic, and the subtitle is A Jessica Streeter Murder Mystery. Obviously, it's a murder mystery. It is a clean murder mystery. I told my pastor, I will be able to look you in the eye if you read this.
There you go. Yeah, that's a wonderful way to be able to write, isn't it?
Yes, yes. So it is a murder mystery. It's about a small town, your stereotypical small town where, everybody is, knows each other, and bad things never happen except they do.
Oh.
Yeah. And River Bend has had more than its share of mysteries. And so this tackles, ongoing, a murder. But it's more than just one. It's known as a place where you get away with murder.
So, and the main character of your book, she, if I know this correctly, was she friends with somebody who was murdered, and then she sort of tries to figure out who murdered her friend. Is that right?
Right, right. Her best friend, childhood, was murdered. One of the casualties of Riverbend, and it was ruled an accident, of course, and but Jess never buys it. She knows better. And so it follows her throughout, trying to get people to listen to her and trying to get something done about it. But there's a much greater story. It's more than just the murder. And this is the hard part for me to talk about without giving the book away and
you don't want to do that.
Yeah.
Don't do that.
Yeah. So I'll stop there, but it's about a lot more than just a murder mystery.
Yeah. And are you working on a sequel to this?
I am.
Okay.
My next one is called Rent, and it'll be subtitled also A Jessica Streeter Murder Mystery. Will be the second in the series.
Okay.
And, yeah.
So can you sort of walk us through, first off, I think people always want to know, well, where'd you get the idea for the book? And murder mysteries, I think, are easy ideas to come up with. I'm saying that as someone who has never written a murder mystery, but I mean, the idea of coming up with it might be easy, but putting all those little pieces together could not have been easy. So what did you do? Like, what was your writing process? How did you come up with the idea and then stay motivated and figure out how to put all of those pieces together?
The book is actually inspired a lot by actual events. They are told fictitiously in the book. I did not intend to accurately portray those, but that's a lot of where the ideas came from. One of the things, in the book, Jess, the main character, has a lot of flashbacks to when she worked overseas.
Okay.
And those flashbacks are, I think, nearly 100% accurate as written. Those are things that I learned, when I went overseas. And so those, that's just one example of the inspiration for at least some of the scenes. The inspiration for Bethany, one of the other major characters, I used to work with an actual police officer.
Oh, fun.
She was the school nurse, and she just wanted to become a police officer, so she did. And she was amazing at finding missing, students, because she knew everybody from
Oh
working at the
boy.
school. She was the school nurse.
Oh boy.
And so, a parent would call in frantic, little Johnny or little, Jane is missing. Well, she would have them found before you could say Amber Alert.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, she was amazing.
Oh.
Um, yeah, I believe she went back to nursing, though. The job demands were just too hard on her family. And so she went back to nursing.
So, but that was part of the inspiration for your book. So you took some real life experiences and you turned
Yes.
them into fictional characters then.
Yes. Mhm.
Yeah. Okay. How fun. And how long did it take you to write
Mm.
this book?
It took, I think, about a year to write it. And I initially I published it about 2 years ago, but I wasn't happy with it, for one thing, quite yet. I just didn't think the story was quite there yet. So I unpublished it and sat on it for about 2 years before I finally published it again. And part of that was just, new author jitters.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
It takes a lot to put yourself out there like that. And especially,
Absolutely. Yeah.
mhm, for introverts like me, that was hard.
Oh, boy. Okay. So you actually finished it a couple of years, published it, and then said, whoa, this
Mhm.
isn't exactly what I wanted it to be, and started revamped it. Did you have it re-edited?
I know Ray edited it twice. I sent it through her
Okay.
twice, but that was the original one. I think once I added about 50 pages.
Okay.
After I published it and then took it down, I added about another 50 pages, because, like I said, it became clear what the real story was, and so I added all that in there. And then I
Okay.
republished it. Ray didn't look at it again.
So I also know one thing I do know is that you also changed the cover. It had a completely different cover in the first edition, and now it
Yes,
has a brand new cover.
yes.
If it's okay, I'm going to go ahead and kind of show our audience this book, because I think, aside from the fact that the story is so incredibly intriguing, I think this cover is just to die for. It is just incredible. So let's see, let's go over here and show everybody this. All right, so this is Traffic. This is a Jessica Street murder mystery, and you can find this if you're out there and you are interested in this book. You can find it on Amazon. Is it also on Kindle? I see paperback and Kindle. Oh, and
Mhm.
hardcover. You have it out on
Yes,
hardcover too. So
yes.
look at this cover. This is just looks like such an accurate portrayal of the book itself. I love it. I love it.
Yes, when I worked with the artist, she had me tell her a little bit about what the book was about, and she used that to, capture that in the cover.
Wow.
Mhm.
So, and that's a process too for new writers. And when you haven't done something like this before,
Right.
when you haven't written and you've never published anything, I think, there's always this,
Mhm.
sometimes people hold on to a book that they have written, or they don't finish it because they don't know what to do with it after. And there are some things that have to be done afterwards. You have to know how to get it onto a platform where it will sell, or you have to choose to get it printed yourself, or try to go through a publishing company, which personally I never recommend. I'm always in favor of indie authors. I like self-publishing authors, because I think we have more control over our books than if we go through a publishing company. But that's my opinion. There are people out there who would completely disagree with me. So, but I just feel like, I know for me that has worked out the best. So as you were getting closer to finishing this book and you needed it edited and you were starting to think about things like, how do I make a cover? How do I get it up? What was that process like? Were you afraid? Were you nervous? Were you,
the
what did you do?
actual putting it out there for people to read was terrifying.
Mm.
The rest of it was overwhelming. There's so much. And, going into this, I don't think that I ever really truly thought that I would ever write a book. And even when I started it, I thought, well, I'll get a couple of chapters written and then I'll just, burn out or, fizzle out. It'll never get finished. Well, about halfway through the book, and it's about 400 pages, almost 400 pages. So I was about
Pretty
halfway
good
through
size
the
book. Yeah, I have a copy. It's a good size book.
Yeah. So then I thought, well, I have to finish it now. I just have to finish it. So I did, but like when I first published it, Amazon has just stock photos that you can use for covers, and that's what I used because I didn't know any artist, didn't know where to find any artist, didn't know anything about it. So I published it with that, just a stock photo, that I got free from Amazon. And then as time, went on, I was able to find, an artist that would be able to, design the cover and do all that affordably. So I, have been able to tap into some resources and, make improvements along the way.
And it is just such a great cover.
Yeah,
You
thank
know,
you.
I think I want to show it to people because I love it. I think it's great. I think book covers are pretty cool. One of my personal shortcomings as an author has always been that cover creation. I've used different tools to do that. I have not used artists to do that. And you actually inspired me when I saw you come out with a new cover for this book, because I didn't think the last one was anything bad. But when I saw this new one, I was like, wow, that just brings it to a whole nother level. And I thought it was pretty wise, for lack of another word. I think it was pretty wise of you to do that. And I'm like re-looking at the covers of my books, thinking maybe somebody with better skills and talents than I have in that area should put some eyeballs on this and do something
Yeah.
about it. So I was
Yeah.
pretty inspired by that myself.
Well, good.
What would you say? I get this question all the time. And pardon me, I have people who ask me frequently, how did you stay motivated? And you said it. You said, well, I think I'm only going to write a few chapters and then I'll probably give up. But you
Mhm.
didn't. You stuck with it. Was there some type of personal determination that caused you to keep going? Or what? I guess I just want to know what helps you stay motivated, because that is a question
Yeah.
that a lot of people ask me. How do you stay motivated to write so much?
The first book was relatively easy as far as staying motivated. Now, there was a lot of nights. I still work a day job. I still have a full-time job, and I have a, small farm that I have to take care of with all the animals. And so, there was a lot of nights that I wouldn't write anything. So there's that. But the story, I just always had the story that needed to be told, um, if that makes any sense.
Yes,
So,
it does. It does.
and it was strange. And what I was not prepared for was how it gushed out on paper. Now, granted, it had to be, even before I sent it to Ray, I changed many things around, edited it many times, made lots of changes. And then after, she was able to give me some really good advice when she, read through it and, so went through the process of doing that again. But so it was telling the story, getting the story out. And it's a story that is very near and dear to my heart. Something very timely. There's a lot of talk about this, not the murder, but the the story behind the story.
Yeah.
There's just a lot of talk about that. So, and it's something that I've not experienced firsthand, but I did experience it when I worked for the Humanitarian and Relief and Development Agency. When I, worked overseas, and I worked in programs that dealt with these things.
Wow.
So,
So that story, it
mhm,
was so important for you to tell that it just sort of flooded onto the paper. And
mhm,
I really relate to that in terms of two of my books that I've written. I've written seven. I'm in the middle of my eighth and my ninth, but there were two books that I wrote that I had to write, if that
mhm,
makes any sense. Like I had to. It was like it was this calling or this mission for me to write. And unlike your book, these aren't my greatest works of literature or anything, but I needed to get that out.
mhm.
And one of those was a book called I Met Her in the Throne Room.
Okay.
And it's a book that has several different personal stories in there of some things um, that I've gone through. And then another book that I wrote was during COVID. I got COVID very, very,
Mhm,
very badly, and I was very private about that. I didn't want anybody knowing that I had COVID. So I went through that alone, but I got long-term COVID, and I still have some residual health issues as a result of that. And so I wrote a book about that called A Journey Through PCSD, which is post-COVID stress disorder.
mhm,
And with my background in psychology, I knew what was happening to me, that I was going through some post-traumatic stuff. And
mhm.
it was very cathartic for me. It was a healing process. So I just put it all, I don't journal. It's
Mhm,
I do not journal. I know I used to tell my clients they should journal and
mhm.
get their thoughts out on paper, but I have never been a journaler, and a lot of that was just fear that somebody was going to read my journals and misjudge me based on it. So I just don't journal. But this was in some ways just a healing process for me through that time. Through it was a very lonely time. It was a very dark time for me when I was so sick. I was just so very sick. I thought I was going to die. Not to be dramatic, but I really did. And people were dying around me with
Right.
COVID. So, so anyway, that's what that book came about. My other books I've written because, um, it was just an idea that I had.
Mhm.
Like, I just wanted to write the book.
Yeah.
And so, so those two I wrote in like weeks. It only took me a few weeks, and
Oh,
that
wow.
gushing out
Yes.
on
Yeah.
paper. So sorry, I'm hitting
Uh-huh.
my mic. That gushing out on paper that you talk about, that's how those were written.
Mhm,
I'm writing one right now that I'm just having a blast writing. It's a fictional book that I started writing for my grandkids,
mhm,
young adult book,
mhm.
because it's just hard to find appropriate
Mm,
literature for that age.
yes.
They're between 11 and 13, and they are devouring books. I mean, these kids read. And so my grandson in particular really has struggled to find appropriate books for him. So he kind of, I let him have a little bit of a hand in helping me with it, but it's funny, it's clean, and it's really, I'm telling a good story, and I'm really going to be proud of that one when it's done. Of course,
Yeah.
Ray will edit it. So yeah, she's kind of been editing my chapters as I go along.
Yeah.
And, but I'm finding that writing can be fun.
Mhm.
You just have to do it,
Right.
right? And
Mhm,
so staying motivated has to come from, this is my opinion, from the experience of doing it. Now
mhm.
that you've actually published this book and you've gotten it out of there, that fear is gone. Like,
Right.
I'm sure you've gotten a lot more positive feedback than negative feedback. In our heads, we think, oh, people are going to read it and judge me. And no, they just want to read a good story. So now, as you're going on to your second book, do you find that you're more motivated? I know time is an issue with you, but like
Mhm.
some of the fear is gone. So that has to help,
Yes.
right?
The fear is gone. Well, it's been replaced by a new fear.
What's that?
Well, the new fear is that the second book won't measure up to the first. So
So it will be different, right? It will
it'll
be.
be different.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, but yeah, so I don't know if other authors go through this or, or not, but yeah, it's fear that I'm not going to be able to come up with a clever plot twist, and all of that. But you just got to do it. I just keep reminding myself that I didn't have everything worked out. I don't outline. I just have to sit down
No, me
and
neither.
start doing it.
Yep.
And
Hmm.
So that's probably why I had so many changes in traffic, because I didn't outline, but I just have, for me, my style is to just sit down and start writing it. And I just have to remind myself that I didn't have everything worked out in traffic when I sat down to do it. And I don't know why I would expect it to be different this time. I just need to start writing and keep writing.
Yeah, I'm not an outliner. I don't outline things either. I just write. And
Hmm.
and I've gone back and changed things a dozen times,
Hmm.
after I've written something that, oh, that just doesn't sound quite right, or moved paragraphs around, done all of that stuff. But I just, writing the outline to me is harder than, because I've tried, and writing the
Yeah.
outline just seems harder than writing the actual book.
Hmm.
So I don't know. And I'm fortunate, I suppose, in the fact that I can almost type as fast as I can think. So it just comes out. Some
Hmm.
people are not that fast, and they have to have an outline, or they forget where they were.
Hmm.
But yeah, well, that's exciting. So for you, it sounds like this motivation comes from, look, I just have the story, and I just
Hmm.
want to keep going with it.
Right. And just like the story in Traffic, this one takes on another. I mean, there's going to be the murder and the plots and the investigation and all that. But there's a deeper story than that. And it's going to be a different story than what was in Traffic.
I
But
can't
I'm going to take it on.
I can't wait to find out what that one's about. I really can't. And I think you and I have had a couple of conversations about what your ideas are for your next book. So
Mhm.
I'm excited. I'm certainly not going to give anything away, but I'm excited. And it might be a couple of years before you get that one done. Also, who knows? But I think you're getting quite a demand for Traffic. There have been enough people who are like, "This was really good." I have seen the reviews. I've talked to people who've read it
Mhm.
personally. I know people personally who have read it and have said nothing but fantastic stuff about the book. So I imagine they are waiting for that second one to come out.
Yeah, and I'm going to try. Well, it'll probably take me more than 6 months realistically, by the time it goes through editing and everything. But I want to get it out this year.
You think you
Get it
will? Do you
published.
think it will come out this year?
Do I think I will? I'm going to make it.
Make it happen.
I wrote it down as one of my goals. So,
Oh, that's awesome. Now, you farm,
mhm. Yes,
and you are an accountant.
yes.
Yeah. So are any of those things that you do now, are they ever inspiration? Are they, so I find that so many writers bring real life into their stories. And
Right.
are any of those parts of your life kind of inspiration, or even part of the story?
Yeah,
Do they help you with
there,
that?
very much so. A lot of people say, okay, is Jess the main character? That's your character. And I've never seen it that way. I
Oh,
see her as a person, just like I'm seeing you. You and I are not the same. But she has a lot of the same experiences. You write about what you know about. I know about
yeah.
accounting. I know about auditing. I know about, ranching and animals. And so that's what I write about, and fraud.
Yeah, you know something about that. So yeah, you
Yeah,
may as well
well,
put that in the book.
fraud may play a role in the next book.
That's going
So
to be interesting. Don't give it away. Don't
no,
don't give it away yet.
no, I won't.
Oh, that's really cool. I know, and I have to ask you this question. When you were done with the book,
Mhm.
so Ray, you and I have mentioned her. She's our
Right.
editor. She's both of our editors. She and I wrote a book together. She let me dictate while I was driving a truck, because I'm a truck driver. And
Right.
so while I was driving truck, then I would sort of dictate my ideas to her.
Mhm.
And then she would take all of this stuff, put it in paragraph form, read it back to me. And I would be like, oh, let's change this, or no, I like that. She did a
Mhm.
really good job. And I'm just so grateful for that.
Mhm.
But I found that when we finished that was my first fictional story that I have ever done, that I sort of missed the characters. Like, when
Mhm.
you were
Yeah.
done with this book, did you miss the characters?
Yes, I do.
They
I do.
they sort of take on this invisible life of their own, and they become
Mhm.
almost, I hate to say the word friends, but that's almost what it
Right.
feels like you become
Right.
friends with the characters.
Well, and a lot of them are friends, because, well, Catherine, And the name came from my best friend.
Oh
It's
boy.
loosely based on her. So yeah, my characters, when I base a character on someone, then they get to pick the name.
Oh,
Yeah, so
nice.
she picked Catherine. So, but basically, and again, this fictionalized. But I almost love Catherine as much as I love my real friend in real
Yeah,
life.
yeah, yeah.
And
And I hear a lot of writers talk about that, how they just, and that is why they go on to make sequels or series. They put the same characters in series for that very reason, because they don't want to let go of the characters,
well, and I think
especially when those characters have been successful in the marketplace. When you're selling books and people are like, oh, I just loved Jess, or I just loved Bethany, or whoever your character might be, then it's then you want to bring them into another story,
yeah,
right?
right, right. And I think a lot of the feedback that I get is that it seems so real life. And I
Yeah.
think part of the reason why the book seems so real life, because it really is. I mean, these are, like I said, inspired by real people, inspired by real events.
Wow.
And so, yeah.
Well, I'm excited for you. I'm excited to see where all of this is going to go for you. Marketing is a challenge for any new
Marketing.
writer. Marketing is
Yes.
a challenge for me. That's probably an area that I'm just not that great at. I never wanted to be an author. I accidentally started writing. I started writing because at the time I was doing business coaching, and I had a business coach who said,
Mhm,
you need to write a book if you want more speaking engagements, because I used to do
mhm,
workshops and do speaking engagements. And I said, I'm not a writer. What am I going to write about? And I wrote a really stupid book that I'm quite embarrassed by, but I did it. And when that book came in and I got to see that physical copy, it's like, wow, I can do this. I learned how to get it up on Amazon, how to make a cover, how
mhm,
to
mhm,
how to do this. I could probably do this again. And so when my next book was written, I knew how to do all of that. So that pressure was gone. And it was a much better book. And I've gotten better as the years have gone by with all
mhm.
of that, just because some of those other elements have become easier to deal with.
Right,
So, but yeah, it's not like I had this dream of I'm going to be an author one day.
right.
So yeah, it's just all just a process. And
Yeah.
what would you say to somebody who wants to write, who wants to get their book published, but they're just having trouble getting over that hump? Maybe they're scared, maybe they don't know what to do, or they think
Mhm,
they have to have permission. That's such a big one. People
mhm,
really think that, well, I have to send it to a publisher
mhm.
and they have to approve it. Well, that's just not true in this day and age. Nobody has to wait for permission to do anything anymore. So, what would you say to that person to sort of motivate them and get them over that?
For as far as addressing the fear, I just resigned myself to the fact that not everybody's going to like my book. And I'm going to get some negative comments just because that's how people are. Um, so it just goes with the territory. And so that way, when it does happen, and I'm sure it will happen, I'm not blindsided by it. I expect it. It doesn't mean, one person's opinion does not invalidate the book.
Correct.
I'm actually just overwhelmed with the positive feedback that I've gotten from it. That was unexpected. So I'm, just, I mean, my heart is just melting over that. So, but I know, at some point, somebody, it's just not going to be their cup of tea and they're going to, say so. And that's okay.
So is that what you would say to a new writer is, you
Mhm.
know, don't don't be afraid of the negativity that may or may not even come with it.
Right. Yeah. Just recognize that it's all part of it, and that, you can't let that define you as an author.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's so true. That's so true.
Mhm.
I was told a long time ago by some wise friends that other people's opinions of you are none of your business. And that's hard. I mean,
Mhm.
there's some sage advice in that, but sometimes it's hard
Yes.
to not worry about other people's opinions, because I think, oh, if nobody likes it, nobody's going to buy it, right? And here I
Right.
put so much of my soul into writing this, and it. I don't want to be crushed. I think
Right.
that's the thing. But well, Julie, I think what we're going to do real quick is we are going to share your information one more time and let people know. Let me get there for you, and then we can let people know how they can go get the book. Have you considered an audiobook? Is that something you've looked at? I know a lot of
That's
people are doing that now.
definitely on the list of things to do. But just like the cover, I don't know who does those.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
yes, definitely I am going to put it on an audiobook, and um, that'll be coming soon.
So this is your Amazon.
Mhm,
Um, I would encourage everybody to go over to Amazon and just search for Traffic. That's the name of the book.
mhm.
And or you can search by author Julie Pennington, and you've got a really good rating here. I'm so impressed by that. That's really awesome. Um, and your book's really not even that expensive. I mean, it's really pretty inexpensive. It's only 14.79 just for the paperback. So that's well worth it. Really, really well worth it. So I would encourage everybody to go on over and check this out. I love the cover, and the stories are just amazing. I like your information here about that too. But they can go on over, they can read that, and get the book, get Julie's book. Julie, you have been so much fun to
Well,
have on
thank you.
today, and you're just such a delight. I could sit and talk with you forever. But unfortunately, we do have to get going. So, just is there anything more that you would like to say to our audience before we say goodbye?
Yeah, just thank you. I appreciate your support so much. It really does mean a lot, and I hope that I can meet the people that have bought my book, the ones that that I don't know. I hope someday I can meet you
Yeah,
and thank you in person.
wonderful. Well, listen, you've been listening to Julie Pennington today, and she is the author of Traffic. If you haven't read her book, I cannot recommend it enough. So I just please go get it. Go on over to Amazon. That's where that book is for sale right now, and or you can reach out to me if you have questions, and I can direct you to that book. But we are so glad that you were with us today. And remember, anybody can write a book, even you. God bless you, and have a fantastic day.
Thank you. Bye bye.